Global Pavilion, realizing just transitions. Welcome to the German Climate Pavilion at COP30 in Billy.
Guten Morgen und willkommen zu dieser Pressekonferenz hier aus dem deutschen Pavillon bei der COP30 in Bille. Heute geht es die Rolle der Natur für den weltweiten
Klima. And today I'd like to welcome our Federal Minister for the Environment, Carsten Schneider, Franziska Tanneberger of the Greifswald Meyer Center, and IPAM representative and director André Guimarães. So welcome to all of you. We'll start with the Federal Minister. The floor is yours. Good morning, everyone. Bon dia. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Tanneberger, Mr. Guimarães, thank you very much for hosting this press conference together with me and the side event later on. Alexander Bonde, ladies and gentlemen, this is the first COP to take place in the tropical rainforest. And this morning I went to the market. There was a fish market, a vegetable market as well in Belém. It's a wonderful place. It's not just home for the wonderful people of Pará, it's also for all of humankind. This conference rightly focuses on nature. Nature is at the very center of this COP. If we protect the climate, we also protect nature, vice versa. And we also protect ourselves as people, as humans, because it's about our livelihoods. This weekend, I had an opportunity to fly over parts of the rainforest, and I got an impression of this immense vastness of this forest, which is the green lung of our planet. But I also saw what's happening in terms of threats by intensive farming, gold mining, crime. And also saw that where the indigenous peoples live, the forest is doing well. And also met Charles. And some of you might have met him too yesterday. He used to be a logger, and today he lives on the forest. Acai, natural rubber, tourists, artisan production. Today, Charles is a guardian of the forest. He protects the forest. I thanked him for his work. Because what the guardians, the protectors of the forest are doing is also service to the international community, because it also benefits us here in Germany. The tropical rainforests play an essential role in protecting the global climate, our Earth's climate. So if the Amazon is not doing well, if it's in a poor condition, we will also feel the consequences dramatically here in Germany. And Charles' example shows that forest conservation is also a social matter, because the aim needs to be for people to be able to provide a livelihood from the forests, live on the forest, and that this is more profitable than deforestation. Which is why it's important that the TFFF will be a success. And as Brazil suggested, 20% of the funds will go to indigenous peoples. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Federal Minister Reem Alabali Radovan, we made a commitment for Germany's contribution to the TFFF, 1 billion euros for a period of 10 years. And I'm positive that this will be money well spent, well invested, because what tropical forests are doing for us is essential. Without this contribution of tropical forests, we would be worse off as humankind. So Reem Alabali and myself, we are convinced that we can do this together. I'd also like to thank Chancellor Friedrich Merz for his support, and our Vice Chancellor, who is also the Minister of Finance, by the way. So I'd like to thank them for their support, and I'd also like to thank the German Parliament for providing the funding. The TFF is a new and innovative approach that was spearheaded by Brazil and is also being supported by countries such as Indonesia. It's exactly the type of global cooperation that we need, North-South cooperation. That's what we need. But let's come back to our topic of today. Forests, peatlands, and soils provide livelihoods, there are carbon and water reservoirs, and they're at risk worldwide because of deforestation, drainage, and also the effects and impacts of progressing climate change. And nature must and can become more of an ally again, an ally for climate action, both worldwide and in Germany. And this applies to forests, of course, and to nature in general. And in order to reverse the trend, I submitted my proposals at the end of September for the contribution of nature to climate action, the Federal Action Plan on Nature-Based Solutions for Climate and Biodiversity. And the goals are very clear. We want to ensure that there's enough groundwater for our children and grandchildren, that there will be less erosion, that there will be good harvest yields in the future, that temperatures in the summer remain bearable because landscapes cool down nature. Forests, peatlands, soils, these are topics that are relevant for Germany's future, but also worldwide. And cooperation will always be worthwhile in these fields. Let's talk about forests for a while. In Germany, we're working on forest conversion. We want to create stable mixed forests. In Thuringia, for example, where I come from, we want to focus on reforestation, on the reiteration of drainage ditches, so that the forest can retain water and there'll be higher groundwater levels again. And internationally, we're working with Brazil, Congo, and many other countries in conserving forests, in rehabilitating degraded forests. And in the Amazon here, we can see vast forest areas that are only here, that still exist because there is international cooperation. The Brazilian conservation authorities are very committed, and international support provided by Germany and others is making them even stronger. So deforestation has declined in all of the world's regions, but we're not seeing an end of deforestation yet, which is why we need to continue working on this goal with full commitment. Let's talk about peatlands, and Ms. Tanneberger, this is your issue, your topic. Globally, peatlands cover about 3 to 4% of the Earth's surface, but they contain about a third of global carbon stock in soils. And if we succeed in rewetting more drained peatlands, then we can turn sources of greenhouse gas emissions into greenhouse gas sinks. This, of course, brings a lot of benefits for groundwater levels, for biodiversity, but also for agriculture. It's a win-win situation, which is why in Germany we also want to re-wet drained peatlands, not against farmers, but together with farmers. We want to build new value chains that also work well on wet soils. And internationally, we're also very active. This week, Germany became a peatland champion. And together with the peatland countries of Peru and Uganda, we're supporting the peatland breakthrough. It's a global initiative to conserve and restore peatlands. It's an important platform that brings together governments, organizations, and local communities in order to make headway on climate action through the conservation of peatlands. Ladies and gentlemen, you can see that cooperation has a strong impact. It will make us have progress. Thank you very much to my colleague, Reem Alabali-Radeborn. Greetings to Germany. And we're making progress every day because there are smart people everywhere on this planet that make this progress possible. Franziska Tanneberger from Greifswald and André Guimarães from the Amazon region. So thank you very much for being here. Buenos dias. Thank you.
Thank you very much for these introductory words. I'll be happy to say a few more things about the practical examples. I'm the director of the Greifswald Meyer Center. There's about 150 people working there, working on peatland. Why is that? Well, we've heard a few figures. Wet peatlands are huge carbon sinks. The dry peatlands are not sinks, but sources instead. The figures and analysis worldwide have shown that if you look around the globe, 12% of peatlands are already drained, and these dry fens carry to contribute a lot. 88% of global peatland is not drained. They are still in a natural state. And another figure, which is quite shocking, 500,000 hectares of peatland are drained every year, newly drained every year, and can no longer sequester carbon but release it. And that makes no sense, because we have an ecosystem that provides services for free, carbon sequestration and storage. We're trying to find technological solutions, but nature will do it by itself. But we're often destroying it for reasons of ignorance. What concrete examples do we have in Germany? Well, I attended lots of side events at COP30, visited many countries and told them about the German experience. And there's two things that I always like to say, because they really raised peatland conservation to a new level in Germany. One is Paludi nets. Paludi, that refers to agriculture on re-wetted soils. And Minister Schneider has already said that most peatlands were drained in Germany for agriculture, but peatland conservation can only work together with agriculture. And Paludinet is a network of 10 projects that on about up to 5,000 hectares of soil, they try out this new type of agriculture and support it with academia. And there's funding for 10 years. That's quite rare. It's the Ministries of Environment and Agriculture are funding it. 36 partner organizations are involved, and about 200 people are working on it. One thing is the Klima Farm. They're producing wonderful matting made from peat plants, and they allowed the minister to attend the heavy metal music festival in the north of Germany without getting wet feet. So that's just one example of Paludi products. The second thing I always say is that for about 2 years in Germany, we've had the Paludi Allianz. If we just re-wet and try and manage with farmers, it can't work if we don't also get the private sector on board. And that's what this alliance is doing. It's 15 large private sector companies that are cooperating with each other. That's quite new. They're exchanging information, they're supporting each other, and together they are creating the demand for biomass. And that's quite special, because they're not just talking about peatland conservation, but each company has committed to one pilot project and scaling that up. 3 of them are already finished, and one company has said that as of 2027, they will only produce that product with Paludi plants. So if you look at the pavilion here, I would love to see this pavilion being built from Paludi culture building materials, because I think that's feasible. And I think it's in this alliance, there are big companies like Stoh, Strabag, and Fleiderer producing MDF boards. At the moment, it's not easy to find Paludi products at the market, but in future that can be possible. And this new action plan, the NBS action plan of the German government, will allow the next step to be taken from pilot projects moving to a real-life environment, real-life economy. And that's where we need to go, because otherwise we cannot reduce the emissions, and we need that reduction in emissions. Finally, a few things about the international aspect. I'm really glad that we started the peatland breakthrough here after we've done a lot of work. It's part of the action agenda, the COP30 action agenda, and it's now about getting more people on board. As part of this process, we worked on the breakthrough objectives. We've been invited to join as a champion country. That's great. And since Monday, we've had the written confirmation as well. I'd be delighted if lots of people would take part in the side event that's following the press conference, that you'll find out more. We'll talk about the Scientific Advisory Board for Nature-Based Climate Action, that's supporting the and we have experts from Brazil, Uganda, and Indonesia. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Frau Tanneberger. Mr. Guimarães, Sie haben das Wort.
Hello, can you hear me? It's working. Thank you. Danke schön. Good morning. It's a real honor for me, Minister Schneider, Dr. Tanneberger. It's a real special moment to be talking about forests here today. As you might know, I mean, tropical forests are one of the key elements of the stabilization of the planet's climate. If we look at the planet's tropical belt, Minister Schneider, we are talking here a region that produces about 50 to 60% of the global food. And the reason for that is, of course, technology, land available, but also the forests that stabilize the climate locally. Let me give you an example. In this country, which is a large agricultural producer, soy, it's 20% more productive, soybeans, up to 100 meters away from a forest fragment. We are still trying to understand these dynamics between cropland and forests, but the fact of the matter is that the more forests we have in the system, the more resilient is the food production. So my point here is that forests are important for the climate, indeed. They store, the Amazon alone store the equivalent of 10 years of global emissions. So it's imperative that we keep the forests standing. But even more than that, forests are important for food security. If we collapse the tropical forest system, we will have people starving and freezing cold. And that can't happen. So the climate change discussion that we are having here these days in Belém is a fundamental one. Of course, we have to deal with fossil fuels, and I really wish that the negotiators would come up with some kind of route for us to, remove fossil fuels from our economies. But we also need strong actions towards the tropical forests and forests in general to be protected as a crucial element for us, the stabilization of climate, as I said, and food production. And I need to say that the idea of the TFFF and the recent contribution, Minister Schneider, from Germany, it really touches my heart, and I'll tell you why. I'm an agronomist by training. I have 33 years of professional life, and my entire career I've been working under one paradigm, which standing forests have more value than the forested one. This is the paradigm of the future for tropical countries like Brazil. We need to create value for forest standing. The TFFF is probably the first initiative that systemically looks at forests as an asset for the quality of life on the planet. We have REDD+, we have carbon credits, we have payment for environmental services, but this is localized. These are local initiatives and very punctual initiatives. The TFFF is different. It provides a premium for those countries that reduce deforestation and do not provide a premium for those that increase or not reduce deforestation. So there's a symbolism that some would say that, well, $4 a hectare is not enough. That's not the point. The point is that TFFF is creating a rationale for standing forests to be standing, which is what we need. This country, friends, and you might know, colleagues, that I like to say that Brazil is a forest-dependent country. 90% of our agriculture is not irrigated, it's rain-fed. It depends on the natural water cycles, which depend on the native vegetation. 70% of all electricity is hydropower plants. Actually, Siemens is a great partner of Brazil in that regard. But we do need to protect forests through food production, electricity, and for supplying water to our cities. So the good news is that we are in a good momentum for the forest. Brazil, as you might know, have reduced deforestation. After a few years of increasing deforestation, deforestation is down again. But we have to pay attention to it, because one thing is reduce deforestation, Minister Schneider. The other one is keeping deforestation down. Reducing deforestation, you do with command and control. Keeping deforestation down, we do with a replacement of the economic activities. And I think, once again, the TFFF and the strong partnership between Brazil and Germany since several decades with GIZ, with KfW, with other German institutions that have been supporting the environmental arena and agenda in Brazil, I think we have a great opportunity now with the TFF to really go to the next level and really aggregate countries, aggregate economic sectors into this initiative of we need forests to survive on this planet. So my deepest appreciation for the partnership, for the contribution that Germany announced yesterday of $1 billion. This is going to be it's going to make a difference, Minister Schneider. This is going to be a signal for our kids and our grandkids in a few decades to come. We can say to them, Daddy and Mommy were involved in that process. So thank you very much for the partnership, and thank you for being here today. Thank you.
So, wir nehmen jetzt noch Heike Henn.
All right, Heike Henn is our Director General for Climate Action. If you want to know more about negotiations, yeah, are there any questions? Booster is the first one. Is there a microphone?
Thank you, André Büsker, Deutschlandfunk, Broadcasting Corporation. Mr. Schneider just said that we will remain committed to fighting deforestation. Germany will remain committed, but at the EU level, various countries are working on postponing the deforestation regulation. How does this fit together? So I'm very pleased that yesterday we succeeded, after long preparations. Well, our colleague Reem Alabalivani was here in the first week. She did the preparatory work. She paved the way for this to happen, and yesterday we succeeded in making this happen. And thank you very much for referring to that in your remarks. It's really an important decision that Germany will be contributing to this fund. Well, you will be familiar with the coalition agreement, and we said that the directive on deforestation, regulation of deforestation will be adapted, zero risk category, no deforestation, and there have been various negotiation rounds in recent weeks. Also in the Commission, and the proposal of the the Danish Council Presidency that will lead to de-bureaucratization, less red tape, and will also mean that the deforestation regulation will remain in force, where we'll have a set of rules that will make deforestation visible and will sanction it as well. So it's a compromise. But it's a compromise that is being supported by large parts of the European Union, most countries. And if in the European Council we had another vote on this question, I don't know if we'd have a majority. So I'm quite happy that the proposal is there, and once the proposal has been adopted, then this will become law as well, and this will no longer, well, this will remain in force. Next question. Lukas Knigge, Table Briefings. Where does the money come from? So how much of these funds are budget funds? How much is KfW money? And second question, why for a period of 10 years? Will the money be paid back after 10 years, or will there be additional budget funds being provided over time? That's why we had intensive consultation processes within the government. It's a new innovative instrument that didn't exist before. It's also something which is quite new for the German budget code and legal matters. And I said it yesterday, it's not a loan and it's not a guarantee. We're giving money, we're providing money, deposits. We're investing. So it's really a long-term commitment of the Federal Republic of Germany to participate in this facility. And it's a difference. It's two other commitments that have been made. It's also a qualitative difference. So we'll be contributing 100 million euros a year for a period of 10 years, which brings us up to 1 billion. And KfW will not play a role here. So it's 1 billion, not 10 billion. We're currently also working on a press release. So I might have said 10, I meant 1 billion, 100 million euros per year. We're working on a press release together with the BMZ, and you be able to read the press release later, and there'll be more details. Another question here. I forgot to ask the question earlier. Sorry, I forgot my question. I'll have to think again. So, any further questions? Michael Bauchmüller. So I'll bridge the gap on the time. Ms. Henn, maybe you could give us a brief update. Because the plan was to have some new documents available this morning, but no documents have been published yet. So on the TFFF, well, apparently private businesses will also get a return on investment. So will the German government provide our profits to the rainforest? So our return investment will go to the rainforest? Well, everything has to be signed yet, and we said to President Lula, we don't want to make a return on investment. That's not our interest. We want people in the rainforest to have a return investment because they can live on the forest instead of live on deforestation. It's not alone, as I said. We're providing money, and I think Germany's commitment, Germany's contribution will be very special. Well, it's really a token of our clear commitment, not just because we're here at the COP. We see we will see the effects of what's happening to the rainforest, the green lung of our planet, also in Karlsruhe, in Freiburg, in the cities of Germany. Well, good morning from my side as well. An update for today. Well, we're still waiting for the text. I think it was a bit ambitious yesterday to say that we would be able to present a text because President Lula was here yesterday. He visited the COP, so we used the opportunity for political discussions. So Minister Schneider talked to President Lula, but also with Mr. Guterres, UN Secretary General. So a lot of diplomacy efforts to work on the key elements of the text. So we were expecting the text to be submitted today. But it seems that today at 11 a.m. there will be news on the global goal on adaptation. So apparently there will be talks with the technical facilitator teams based on the inputs, on the contributions that were made yesterday. All groups were able to contribute yesterday on all points of the package. We talked about critical points, so we had the possibility for submissions, and I think trust is growing on the Brazilian side. So, and we're hoping really that there will be a package that can be adopted, that can be approved. But I think we'll have to wait for a bit longer because our teams will be starting at 11 with their talks. But I think we'll have something today because we've already talked to the EU and others. So we're very excited about what's going to happen today. So Martina Herzog has remembered her question. So it's your turn. On the TFFF again, this 1 billion euros, will there be any cuts in funding for other programs? Well, those are detailed questions, but on behalf of the BMUKN or the Environment Ministry, I can say that we're talking about future spending. I can't say anything on behalf of the BMZ, of course, but we do have the funds available. Our ministry does have the fund, and every minister and every ministry will have to speak for itself. I don't see any further questions, so thank you very much for your interest and see you again. Thank you.
Global Pavilion, realizing just transitions. Welcome to the German Climate Pavilion at COP30 in Billey.